like when Grandma Louisa made the quilt. And how would she have ever thought possible that somebody would really value that today, these many years later?
I think they did.
And
my grandmother Farnsworth made a quilt for all of her grandchildren, and I think she expected that us to prize this as
yeah. Well, my grandmother Elsie made all of us a quilt too, but we didn't take care of it, and mine got torn up as a child. But, you know, I've often thought, what would he think if he knew his picture was hanging in my house at this day and age? You know,
well, you know, they didn't
imagine?
have pictures of their ancestors to do this
Yeah,
with.
that's probably
So,
true.
These coins are in the safekeeping of Neil Page Allbaugh of Tucson, Arizona, a great-grandson of Watson Morgan Bunten.
Now, this is a soldier's memorial, and I found that it's up in the attic down at Mother's one day, and realized what it was, and brought it down and asked Mother about it, and she said that it belonged to her father, Watson Bunten, and that he always kept it hanging up in the house there at home, that he was very proud and very fond of that. And I brought it home, and it refinished the frame and so forth. She said I could have it, and it's been hanging up ever since. It's real heavy, so you'll notice it has a good strong hook up at the top because it's a heavy thing. Now, this is the 3rd Regiment of Company E, West Virginia Mounted Infantry. And there are a few names there, well, quite a few of them that I recognize from families around here that, well, say their father or grandfather when I was a little girl. But now here is W.B.D. Bunten in the privates there, which of course is a brother of our grandfather, Watson Bunten. Now, Watson isn't in here because he registered or enrolled in Illinois,
Right,
remember.
right.
Then it gives over here then Captain P.J. Potts, and then it gives the lieutenants and the sergeants, corporals, your musician, that's Chandler D. Gould. If you read much French Creek history, you know, you hear of Chandler Gould, and of course the same way with the Potts and so forth. And then the blacksmiths and the field and staff officers. Now here is one that's in that is E.C. Thomas, but I don't know whether that's any relation of ours or not. We'd have to look back and check on that. And then the non-commissioned officers, and over here is when they resigned and the date, and transferred, who was transferred, and then the discharges down through here, and tells why they were discharged out here, the disability and wounds and so forth down the line, and then it gives the deaths and what caused it. And Henry B. Bunten here, November the 16th, 1861, died of fever. Then Corporal Burnham A. Bunten, January the 14th, 1862, of fever. And I believe he had scarlet fever, didn't he? Isn't that what killed him?
I'm not sure if diphtheria or...
I think it was it seems to me like it was scarlet fever that Mother always told me. And then there's I guess it doesn't tell anything about the ones that were in Anderson, prisoners here. Then it tells the dates and the engagement of all of the battles here, and the dates of those, and the mustered here, and the engagements right here. Rocky Gap, Virginia, Droop Mountain, and various skirmishes of minor note here. But one thing of interest here is the United States service at Clarksburg, Virginia. So, of course, that was before West Virginia was a state. So if you just look at it, it's quite interesting. There is the pictures in it. What they, of course, she's just gotten a sad letter, you see, and the battles, and it's there's a coming home, of course, and so forth. It just gives the whole story, really, if you look at the pictures too.
Okay, this is Ruth, and she's got a chicken there by the hind legs, and that's on the farm in French Creek, and that's how they did in them days. And I guess she was going out to get the chicken for Sunday supper or Sunday dinner.
Crawford, she was Dealey Weimer, and she married French Bunten, and she is a mother of Carl, Ralph, Lester, and Grace Bunten. And then after our Uncle French died, when Grace was just a baby, years later she married Charlie Crawford. And they lived at Crawford in the old Holmes place there in Crawford.
Clyde Lewis. This is not, what we say here is only for identification purposes.
Well, it's, his mother was May Bunten Lewis,
Right.
and
May,
Date Lewis.
May Bunten, and Uncle Date was his father.
Yes, and he had one sister.
He had
Louise.
sister Louise. Elsie. And Uncle Bill Lake.
Willis D. Lake,
Willis D. Lake.
her second husband.
That's right.
They
And he was,
The picture you're seeing now is of Jessie Morgan. She is a daughter of Kate Thomas Morgan and Jim Morgan. And they lived and owned the farm there that Watson Bunten built for his mother.
they bought it from him.
Yes, I think they bought it. It was when they bought it from him. And then they... I better not say
Okay.
more.
All right.
She moved, I started saying about Gertrude. And I don't know who she married.
Okay, Neil.
Gertrude.
It's going now.
This is picture is of Gertrude Morgan, which is a sister of Jessie Morgan, and her parents are Kate and Jim Morgan. I think they had a brother, but I don't know.
Well, all right, this is Edna Bunten in 1914. French Marion Farnsworth in 1914.
Four of the three children, of the 7 children.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, this is French Bunten. Right, this is Martha Page. Not at this picture. She's not at all.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
French Page. All right, this is Elsie Bunten.
Well, he don't look too good. Neil don't look too good at all to me.
Martha's moved out.
Yeah.
This is Cyrene Bunten Rigger. This is Joseph Rigger.
There was a
This is Dealey Weimer, Bunten, Crawford, and Charlie Crawford, her second husband. This is Lester, Leck, and Grace Bunten. This is Grandmother Bunten's house on Smithfield Street, where she lived after she moved from French Creek. And she died here living, and this is the last place she lived.
Before she went to the hospital.
Before she went to the hospital, right, yeah.
Yeah, she lived up there for a long time.
Ruth, is that?
All right, this is Ralph Bunten.
How old is Ralph now, Ruth? Go ahead.
This is Louisa Thomas Bunten. Now, just say what you know.
Go.
All right.
This is Betty Thomas Phillips, and she was the only one of the children, I think, that ever smoked, but she smoked corncob pipe. And she is the mother of Phil Phillips.
Any other children that you
There was also Abe Phillips with a brother.
Okay. Any grandchildren?
Yes, Robert Phillips and Josephine Phillips are children of Phil Phillips, and yes, and Wirt, which was killed in the war. And then on Abe Phillips's, he had Minnie Phillips Snyder, Walter Phillips, Russell Phillips, and Burley Phillips.
All right, very good. That's good enough.
And-
Go ahead.
Oh, now this is Sue Thomas Elmer, and she was a mother of Noreen Talbot, and one of the grandchildren is Roscoe Elmer.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Mrs. Worth. This picture is of Mariah Thomas Perry, and she is the mother of Eunice Perry, Henry Perry, Charles Perry, and I don't remember whether there were any more of them. Sydney, I believe, was one of them. I believe.
Any grandchildren?
Yes, there's several grandchildren. On Henry Perry's family, there is Ralph and Davis, Lowell, and Merle still living, and Russell French and Helen have passed away. On the Eunice's side of the house, she married Ellsworth Loudon, and they had some children, which was Bernice, and she isn't living anymore. Also, Basil Loudon and Gail Loudon, both of those are no longer living. Paul Loudon is still living, and Ruth, daughter, is still living, and Willard, which they always call Billy, the youngest one, is also dead.
Okay.
This is Alexander Thomas, the only boy with the sisters there. And his home was up towards Alton, which is close where Vonda Kay built her log cabin. And his grandson, Lloyd Thomas, is still living in the home place. He had several children. I cannot name them all, but one of them moved to Richwood, and another one stayed here, and one, I believe, one of them was John Thomas that was married or moved to Mulberry Ridge, and they another one moved to Buchanan, but there was quite a large family of them. Virgie's grandfather.
That's not Virgie's dad.
No.
Okay, all right.
But I can't remember all. Wellington was
Well,
one, but I can't
we
remember.
don't-
John was one.
You've identified that very well.
Well, that's what I couldn't think of.
You couldn't think of
I
their
couldn't
name.
think of that. I was thinking of John, but no, John was Hub Thomas's
Now,
father.
Well, now,
next
this
one's
is
going to
Ellen
be
Thomas.
Martha Ellen.
Yes, you can tell about her.
I
You
can't
never know.
remember all of those.
Ruth Ellen Thomas's grandfather?
Yeah. Now this is Martha Ellen Thomas Hamner Jones, and she lived after she married Bruce Hamner down in what was referred to as the weaning pen. I guess because that they never moved away very far from their dad and mother, but that was down on French Creek. not too far from the home place.
Her children were.
And her children were Lloyd Hamner, Lee Hamner, Clara Hamner,
Alan Hammer,
Alan Hamner
Sr.
Sr., and what was the co-writer? Lily Hamner, that married the Moke co-writer. Then for her second husband, no one knows whatever happened to Bruce Hamner. He came to visit her, but then when he left, he was never heard of since. So we don't know whether he was killed or where his grave is or anything. But in later years, she married Jones, and they are buried in the French Creek Cemetery.
Very good.
Oh, that's the one, is it, Ruth?
Yeah.
That's the wayward one, boy.
This is just French Page.
Did he have a middle name, Ruth?
Charles French.
Charles French. This is a Thomas
It says May Bunten Lewis, Dayton Lewis, her husband, and Clyde Lewis, their first child.
Buntens.
Bunten and Thomas was together.
Here, Bunten and Thomas?
Sure, they. Aunt May, who was the son of Louisa Thomas and Watson Bunten, so.
This is Fanny Morgan Bunten.
She was 23. You remember that commercial? What the hell was it? Oh, you're talking about
Eva
Yes, yes.
Bunten,
Yeah, Collins, yeah, that lead
and she would be married to Collins
after she grew up.
after she grew up. Yes, right.
Samuel Collins.
Samuel Collins.
She grew up,
Okay, this is Lloyd Bunten, and he is the oldest son of Watson Morgan Bunten.
Well, well, see, to attract them first, you put red coloring in it. And then after they learn where it is, then you just don't fool with it.
This is Carl, Lester, and Ralph Bunten.
At 6 o'clock.
Yeah. This is Susan Thomas Elmer. This is French Bunten. This is Dealey Weimer Bunten. All right. This is French and Dealey Bunten. Edna Bunten, and she didn't want this picture taken. That's what you said, wasn't it, Ruth?
Yeah, there was a story behind it. Father used to laugh, kind of, when she would, I'd look at that. I think that was it, or made her sit still or do something. I forget the story on it. But,
Clara Bunten, who died as very, very young.
might say the daughter of
Daughter of French Bunten and Dealey Weimer Bunten. You know, you should show that to Grace if she. This is Lloyd Bunten.
He's much better looking there than Ted or in from there. Now, Tom,
This is May Bunten.
Go ahead.
Sophronia Sloan, the first wife of Watson Morgan Bunten, from Indiana and Illinois, and died in shortly after the death of their first child.
I didn't know that.
This is Willa Eckes Bunten, and that's the wife of Lloyd Bunten. This is the Lloyd Bunten family. It's Lloyd Bunten, Willa Eckes, his wife, and their oldest son, which would be Thomas Ellsworth. This is James Morgan and Kate Thomas Morgan. This is French Page.
No.
I don't know.
Oh, probably 46, somewhere, something like that.
Yeah, of course, he was 47.
Okay, this is French Bunten and Aunt Dealey's house, just upstream from Crawford a little ways. All right, this is Grandmother Bunten's house on Smithfield Street with Louisa Thomas
Well, I
Bunten.
wish you could have, but I understood that.
She'll be
Why
there
you
all
couldn't?
evening. That's Bob Phillips. She'll be there all evening talking about Beltline.
This is the Thomas family reunion in 1907.
Yeah, so but I kind of liked the way things went and all, but sorry you couldn't make it on Sunday too. Pretty well.
Carl Bunten.
Does it? I didn't know.
This is what oldest son of French Bunten.
Well, it was pretty well full for the worship service on Sunday too.
This is a bird's eye view of Crawford, West Virginia.
You got the zip code.
Can you see the cemetery on the hill?
This is the Bunten and Moore Mill in Crawford, West Virginia, commonly known as Pinhook.
Just,
How do you think
I'll
of-
back in, take another look and see
Go
if I
ahead.
can find that picture.
Okay.
But that has the team of horses out there, and they're loading or unloading there. And I don't know, but what Mother and Zamie are in the picture, or somebody.
Audrey, Ruth, and Sam Collins.
Which is Audrey and which is Ruth?
Audrey's the one with the big bow in her.
Well, both of them's got a bow in her hair.
The one standing up.
The one standing up's Audrey?
Is Audrey the older?
Is Audrey older than Ruth?
I don't think so.
I don't
No.
think so, no.
Ruth's the oldest. Isn't she, Ruth? That's what I thought. Audrey's youngest, isn't
Sam and Hetty Collins.
Ted.
Yeah, Ted was here.
What's his name? Last?
Louise Lewis.
Do you know she was in the Marines? Yeah, sure. Yes, sir. Well, Jen.
May Bunten while in seminary in Buchanan, West Virginia.
Where did Watson
Now-
Bunten live, Ruth?
This he said Collins.
This is Edna Bunten. This is Grace Bunten, Neil Farnsworth, and LaSora Martin, which was Farnsworth, and Grandmother Bunten, which was Louisa Thomas Bunten.
Where did Watson Bunten live, Ruth?
There with the farm. He built that house for his mother.
All right, this is Edna Bunten Farnsworth's house on Green Street in Buchanan. Yeah, we like to lost that. Thomas and Teddy Bunten. Dealey Bunten and her daughter Grace.
Well, Grace was the third in line,
What you mean?
right? Or was she the youngest of the four
She's
kids?
the youngest. I always thought that she was born among.
Grace Bunten.
Age 5.
Probably.
I'm sure
In
someplace.
the
I
winter
thought I had all those
That's snow
pictures.
back there, isn't it?
Lewis Collins. Not absolutely sure, but we're pretty sure. How's that? Being definite.
What I'll do
Maybe
is someday when I have time, I'll go through all those pictures and I'll know what you want and put them in a.
Louise Lewis.
So you told her she was born in Huntington, and she said no.
Sarah Louise Lewis.
Sarah Louise.
And finally turned out it was Canova.
Oh,
I knew. Clyde Lewis. Nancy, Linda, and Cindy Rice. Now, you know we don't have a Ruth, it's Nancy Rice. Was it Rittenhouse?
No.
What's her name?
Delaney.
Delaney. I'm sure this is Nancy. Look on the screen. That is Nancy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look on the screen.
Yeah, that's Nancy.
Okay. Delaney.
I was trying to see if I had one here that's, she's got her mouth open and chewing there. It was taken this year.
This is the Ruth and Vaughn Rice 50th wedding anniversary present, a quilt made by all of the children and depicting scenes that were family jokes or important family events in their life. And this was in what, 1980?
They gave it to us in.
1985, 4?
No, they gave it to us this year.
This 1986.
Yeah.
All right.
They were.
This is Nancy Rice Delaney. Linda said something about
1985.
writing her